Welcome, ladies and gents. Chris Andre here. You can find me at BetBoxing on Twitter, or of course you can subscribe to the channel. Let's talk boxing. Fresh off of his fantastic victory over Ryan Garcia, many have pronounced Gervonta Davis to be the new face of boxing. His network, his promoters, Gervonta himself, and his fans are all behind this claim. But what does it mean to be the face of boxing? Let's get into this and ask the question of whether he really is the pugilistic poster boy. Now, Tank Davis is a supremely talented fighter, and I could make a case for him beating all the other lightweights in the division. That doesn't necessarily mean I think he would or that I'd make him favourite, but I can see a path to victory against anyone. He would have a chance, a realistic chance, and he could potentially go on to become the undisputed lightweight champion as a result. So he is a phenomenal fighter. But is that enough to make him the face of boxing? Well, I put out a tweet to say he's not even the face of the lightweight division. Stop this. It's amazing how a promoter can create a slogan and people just roll with it. Now, to be fair, what I actually meant to write is he's arguably not even the face of the lightweight division, but people aren't mind readers. I put out that tweet with a typo. So Ishii Smith, the former world champion, he responded to that. And he said, what do you call the face of the division then? Are you basing it purely on skills? The guy sells out wherever he goes. He's averaged over 15k in attendance in the last few fights. He's sold out the T-Mobile. Stars flock to watch him fight. It's not purely boxing. It's the whole 9 yards. And in fairness to Ishii Smith, Tank is indeed a fantastic revenue generator. Exposing boxing myths on Twitter is somebody that posts the statistics involved when it comes to fights, and he has the receipts to back it up. And it was Rahul that pointed me towards him, so shout out to Rahul. And he has shown that Tank Davis sold over 16,000 tickets with a gate generated of 4.5 million approximately. Against Hector Luis Garcia, he sold 17,000 tickets and a gate of just under $5.2 million. So there's no doubt that Tank Davis generates a lot. And Exposing Boxing Myths went on to say that this dude hits a $4 million gate or nears it against anybody he fights. It doesn't matter how little well-known the opponent is. He's very consistent with it. And to go along with that, he sells what? 275,000 pay-per-views. He's the biggest draw stateside behind Canelo. So the question is, if we're using Ishii Smith's example of how to judge what it means to be the face of boxing, the whole 9 yards, it's not just about skills, although they contribute. It's not just about status, although that contributes. It's about ticket selling. It's about the whole package. Can we say that Tank Davis has now managed to leapfrog Canelo Alvarez? Well, let's just consider his own division for a moment, because boxing extends way beyond just the borders of the United States. And this is not going to go down well with Tank fans, because we know that there is a bit of a beef between the fans of Tank Davis and Vasyl Lomachenko. But when you consider that Lomachenko, for instance, sold 14,000 tickets, very close to what Tank is currently selling, when he fought Jorge Linares. His stock has fallen since losing to Teofimo Lopez, but he still sold close to 6,000 tickets to fight Richard Comey. In the UK, Luke Campbell was a unification fight that occurred in London, a fight that I was at, and that sold out the O2 Arena, 25,000 fans. And listen, whilst Vasyl Lomachenko was, of course, fighting a British fighter, and a lot of the British fans were there to support Luke Campbell, they wanted him to achieve his dreams. If Luke Campbell had fought another champion or a lesser fighter, it might not have generated that level of interest. It was like a Hollywood movie star was in town and people were coming to watch him perform. And this wasn't just the case of Anthony Joshua and Alexander Usyk, for instance, whereby AJ was the real star attraction. And although people respected Usyk, they knew who he was a supreme champion. The majority of the fans there, those that really pushed that market, were casual fans. That wasn't really the case with Lomachenko fighting Luke Campbell. Yes, the fans were rooting for Luke, but it was Vasyl that was the showcase. And he's doing these things in foreign lands, the UK, the United States. Imagine he was operating in Eastern Europe. Imagine he was operating in the Ukraine. He would be selling out stadiums. So when you're talking about the face of boxing, are we just talking about ticket sales and the generation of revenue? Or are we also talking about popularity? And if we're talking about popularity, are we talking about boxing as a global sport? Take another example, ferocious George Kambosos. His stock has dropped. However, prior to that, he had been the A-side twice against Devin Haney. And even now, he's due to fight in Las Vegas in an eliminator against Maxie Hughes. Again, in a foreign country. In his own nation, he was packing out stadiums and arenas. So if we're just talking about interest in ticket sales, is Kambosos in line to be the face of boxing? Of course not. Why? Because we recognize that it takes more than just the generation of revenue or more than just ticket sales. You have to be a champion. You have to be one of the top fighters in the sport and to be able to prove it on paper. Tank Davis Whilst he's got all the talent in the world, he doesn't have a title at lightweight. He's never won a legitimate title at lightweight or at light welterweight. He has been a champion, a legitimate champion in one weight category. Now, if we are just talking about ticket sales and interest though, and revenue generation, then why isn't Big Bang Zhili Zhang the face of boxing? In his last fight against Joe Joyce, 13.2 million people watched the fight in his native China. Macau absolutely eclipses Las Vegas in terms of size and in terms of the generation of revenue. If you're talking about a guy who's a star, well, then do we go with Zhili Zhang as the face of boxing because of that? No. Again, why? Because this is not a guy that is a champion. So using Ishii Smith's own logic, if it's the whole 9 yards, it's a holistic thing, well, then it's not going to be Tank Davis, is it, at this present moment in time? Eddie Hearn has listed 3 guys that he considers to be the cash cows of the sport of boxing. He explains that these guys generate more revenue than anybody else. One of them is, of course, Saul Canelo Alvarez, the Mexican superstar, who is a superstar all over the world. He's a star in his homeland, of course. He's a star in America. He's a star in South America. He's a star in the UK. British fight fans have been begging for Canelo to come to the UK and fight, and he's been promising that one day he will. We'd all had our fingers crossed that it would have been John Ryder who would have managed to drag him over here. Instead, Ryder's going to go over to Guadalajara. So we still keep our fingers crossed that one day Canelo might fight on these shores. But the point is, he's sought after globally. He's the undisputed super middleweight champion. He's the former light heavyweight champion. He's a former middleweight champion. This is a highly decorated guy who captures the imagination globally. Apart from that, Eddie Hearn has also pointed, of course, to the former Olympic gold medalist and former unified heavyweight champion of the world, Anthony Joshua. Now, he has taken a couple of defeats at the hands of Alexander Usyk. Prior to that, also Andy Ruiz, although that was avenged. And his stock would also have fallen somewhat too. A lot of the casual fans were really following AJ very closely when he was undefeated and considered to be invincible. So we've seen that that's fallen slightly. We saw that the ticket sales for the Jermaine Franklin fight had slowed. They had sold it out anyway, and DAZN got hundreds of thousands more of subscribers just at the fact that AJ had signed with them. So that is in addition to the already hardcore that would have been signed up to DAZN already. So make no mistake, AJ is still a superstar. He's still generating an awful lot of money. He did sell out the one occasion that he did fight in the United States as well. So when a lot of people sit there and say, well, AJ is not really a draw in the US, he didn't crack the US, he did pretty well the last time he was in the US. And in addition to that, he's also a star in places like Africa and places like Nigeria. He could easily sell out a stadium in Nigeria. And he's also sought after in Saudi Arabia, in the Middle East. This is a global star, not stardom limited to one nation. And as much as it would have pained Eddie Hearn to admit, the third person he identified was the Gypsy King, Tyson Fury. I know he's not very popular at the moment, but the fact of the matter is Tyson Fury has done some very big things in the heavyweight division, including going away to Germany to dethrone Vladimir Klitschko, beating a superstar in the United States in Deontay Wilder on 2 occasions with 1 draw. Many people felt that Tyson Fury should have won all 3. Fury also fought Dillian Whyte in front of 94,000 fans, of course, a record in European pugilistic heavyweight history. And so you're talking about yet another heavyweight who's a star now, who the Saudi Arabians have been trying to lure over there for big fights. And you have to understand that the Saudis are in this not for reasons of money. They're not looking to turn over a profit. This is a political move by them. They want to create a boxing hub within Saudi Arabia. They are using it for soft power, essentially. They want to exert influence around the world. And so they're looking for the most influential stars of the sport in order to carry the brand that is the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. So they are seeking to attach that brand to superstars. And that's why they're trying to invite over Canelo, and they've already brought over Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury in a wrestling event, and they want to bring him over for a boxing event. These are the true superstars of boxing at the moment, whether people like them or not. If Tank Davis wants to be on their sort of level, he has to transcend beyond just American borders. He may very well be the face of American boxing, but to be the face of boxing as a whole, your reach has to go way beyond that. You're going to have to take risks. You can't just fight against guys where you're always going going to be considered the hot favourite to win the fight. You're going to have to capture the imagination, and of course branding plays a major role, perhaps the biggest role of all, but it still needs to be underpinned with some serious achievements in the ring where you're winning world titles in your division. You have to go and win a lightweight title legitimately. And shout out to Base the Kid as well, because Anthony Yarde, who Base and I have debated his sort of standing in the light heavyweight division, but Yarde put out a tweet to say it was disrespectful to say it was a 50-50 fight between Tank and Ryan Garcia. Tank is a 5-time world champion in 3 weight classes. Garcia is yet to win a fight for a world title. And Base the Kid said, stop it, Anthony. He's a 2-time world champion in 1 weight class. It's takes like this that allow him to swerve meaningful fights since 2017. And Base is right. A similar thing has been said by Hatman, for instance, regarding Tyson Fury. If you already crown Fury as the undisputed champion, even though he's not the undisputed champion, why would he take a risk into going to fight the likes of Alexander Usyk? Why not continue the whole cash cow sort of status, be in big fights, rather than risk earning a little bit more to fight Alexander Usyk when he could draw it out for a longer period of time and earn a lot more money fighting lesser guys? And Tank Davis in a similar situation, the difference being, unlike Fury, for instance, Tank hasn't taken certain big risks in his career. Unlike Anthony Joshua, unlike Canelo Alvarez, he's yet to do these things. So if Tank does want to catapult himself to that superstardom, he's got no choice. He's going to have to take some big risks, fight the likes of Shakur Stevenson, the winner of Haney and Lomachenko. And then if you start to come over those sorts of obstacles, that's when people are going to start to take notice globally. You're going to have to potentially even go abroad. Why not? Go and broaden the Tank brand. Until then, you are the face of American boxing, but I don't think you can make the case for being the face of global boxing. If you disagree, let me know in the comments section down below and explain why you think Tank is superior to the likes of Canelo, the likes of Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury when it comes to stardom. Thanks for watching, ladies and gents. Please don't forget to hit a stiff jab on the like button, a right cross on the subscribe button, and an uppercut on the notifications button. Thanks for watching. Chat to you soon. Take care. God bless.